Monday, Labor Day edition of Morning Scone, presented by Brock, the Batters Orthopedic Clinic, HUDCO Roofing, HUDCORoofing.com. Do business with someone you know, HUDCO Roofing, HUDCORoofing.com. Tigers lose the opener of the 2022 season and of the Brian Kelly era, 24-23, in the most improbable fashion. To have come out the gate so strong, to have been so inept for so long, to hit your stride in the fourth quarter, to improbably score with no time left on the clock, and then to have the game time PAT blocked is some very, very cruel, cruel and unusual punishment. I'll go through, I got about an hour here this morning, and I'll go through as much of the game as we can and everything y'all have. Thanks to everybody who watched Whiskey and Wine last night. Huge crowd, so we appreciate all of you. If you watched Whiskey and Wine, probably caught a lot of what I said and what I'll say here. Maybe just with a night to sleep and think a little more about it. So we will have AFR today at 3, so we'll delve even deeper. But some big picture things here. Just obviously, the special teams gaffes were unforgivable. Malik Neighbors muffed 2 punts, but thankfully your defense stiffened in both occasions, and it didn't yield Florida State any points. The first one, they went for it on the 4th down and didn't get it. And then the second one, they fumbled and gave it right back to you. So the 2 muffed punts didn't cost you any points. You did, however, have a field goal blocked and a PAT blocked. So that alone cost you 4 points. And I guess if all else is equal, you make the first field goal, don't get it blocked. You win the game on the touchdown. PAT wouldn't matter. But I think you'd always rather learn tough lessons in a win than in a loss. Regardless if Ramos had made the PAT or hadn't got it blocked, and if Ramos had made the PAT and LSU had won in overtime, the conversations we'd be having today are the same. You'll hear me say all the time that winning masks deficiencies. Well, the opposite is also true sometimes, in that losing can overshadow the good, and there was some good in this game, and it wouldn't change the deficiencies as you won the game. You'd still need to go address them, and I think that's what Brian Kelly and this staff obviously will have to do here. All right, good morning, y'all. Terry Foray, Jason Horn, Ryan Amanda Guidry, good morning. William Angeron, good morning. Or maybe that's Engelman, never mind. Lester Harvey, David Coslin, Michael Cook, good morning, y'all. Glad to see y'all here. I'll do my best to get to as many of your comments as I can. They're going to scroll quickly, so I may miss some, so I apologize. BB12, Philip Tross, Trivia Carter, Tim Gotro, good morning, y'all. Let's see, BB12 said, what's the deal with Kayshawn? Yeah, he was not engaged in the game, and I think checked out mentally there for a while. I think the bad is obvious, okay? I think the special teams gaffes were terrible. The 3rd down defense really cost you in this ball game. For the game, they were 11 of 17. You were 5 of 11. When you look at their scoring drives, their first touchdown drive, they converted 4 times on 3rd down. They converted a 3rd and 10 on the touchdown drive where Ali Gay was ejected, and the touchdown came on a 3rd and 3. So they converted 2 third downs on that scoring drive as well. And then on their last scoring drive to make it 24-10, they converted a 3rd and 2 and a 3rd and 1. Third down defense was obvious. Your offensive line is not good. I mean, we talk for so many months about these things that are question marks, and I don't mean this isn't an I told you so, but it's just an illustration, okay? It's when I say, look, you have legitimate question marks, some of them are going to be answered to the positive, and some are going to be answered to the negative. A positive, your outside corners played exceptionally well. The only time that your cornerbacks got beat downfield was on the flea flicker. And Mekhi Garner almost recovered enough to make a play on that ball. But your outside cornerbacks were really good. They gave up nothing to those Florida State receivers. Everything Florida State got in the passing game was dink and dunk, and it was Jordan Travis making plays, and you tip your cap. He was really good. But your outside corners were really good. Your special teams were not. Your offensive line, which we talked about, how good would the offensive line be? Clearly not good. Objectively awful. In the 2-minute offense with under a minute to play when you're driving for the game-tying score, Cam Wire, who's supposed to be your most veteran guy, right? Cam Wire gives up a sack on a 3-man rush when you got 6 protecting. Like, that's completely unforgivable in that situation. But for all the times I said it about this offensive line, I think they're talented players, but they're all in new positions and they've never played together. And that matters, especially when you're going up against a good defense. And so Florida State, for the game, ends up with 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. And I'm waiting on the final box score to see if they chart hurries, because this doesn't have it. But that's why we go into that stuff. You should also have the question answered about Miles Brennan. I don't mean to rip this scab off the wound or anything like that, or unearth this whole conversation, but now you know why they wanted a mobile quarterback. The first play of the game, Jayden Daniels is feeling pressure. He scrambles left for 25 yards. The one thing I told y'all, what was the one prediction I made yesterday and all week? That Jayden Daniels was going to be LSU's leading rusher. 16 attempts for 114 yards. Noah Cain had 23. Armani Goodwin had 14. Josh Williams had 2. That's why he's the quarterback. Because your offensive line stinks and you need a quarterback that can make plays with his feet. Did he have happy feet? Did he tuck and run maybe sometimes too soon? Probably. But kid was running for his life. It was awful. So, and despite all that, the good is you took the opening possession of the ball game and got down to the 5-yard line and should have punched it in right there. You had them on their heels. Bad snap, you ended up settling for a field goal, but you made the field goal. Time and again, your defense stiffened. On Florida State's first drive, you held them to a field goal attempt. They missed it. At half, you were only down 7-3. 2 possessions for them in the red zone off of muff punts. They went for it on a 4th down. Sage Ryan, beautiful play in the end zone. And then, of course, the fumble. So there were times where your defense stiffened. You gave up 7 points in the first half. 7, despite all the 3rd down conversions, all the opportunities that Travis had moving the sticks. I don't know that I've ever seen a guy throw 32 passes and have only 260 yards passing. Everything was just short and underneath. But they were willing to, it was like death by 1,000 paper cuts, man. They were willing to just dink and dunk you and chip away at you and put together these long, sustained drives without making a mistake, and by and large they did. But there was some good, and then obviously once you found your tempo in the second half, you started finding your receivers. Jure Jenkins had 5 catches, Brian Thomas had 5, Mason Taylor had 5, Malik Neighbors had 5, Booty had 2, Kyron Lacey had a big one, Cole Taylor and Jack Besh each had receptions. So in the second half, you found your receivers, but just didn't execute. That's the tough part. It was as evidenced by the end, a game that you could have won. And I don't just mean in dramatic. I don't mean stole. I mean won. If you don't have the errant snap on the first possession, but you did. if you don't have the field goal blocked, but you did. You had those opportunities, man. David Furr, you got to go for 2 on the last play. David, I agree, and I said it on. I was standing at Don Juan, and there was a guy standing right next to me. He said, "You kick it." I said, "F no, you go for 2. You got them on their heels. I don't trust this team right now to go play in an overtime sequence here. You don't give Florida State the chance to catch their breath. Like, is one play for the game, right? And you just showed around the goal line your athletes, their leaping ability, athletic quarterback. I mean, I'd have been completely fine with I wanted them to go for 2 there and win the game, get out. Blake Thibodeau, Michael Adams, what's going on? Stephen Dufour. Someone asked about, said, did people want to fire Saban in 2000? But listen, okay, I want to be clear about this too. Were there people who wanted to fire? Sure, probably, and they're stupid. And it's the same people that are going to say fire Brian Kelly. And if you watch Whiskey and Wine, it was probably the most heated that T-Bob and I got at each other because he took a shot at me saying that, I would have been livid at Ogeron a year ago for some of this stuff. And he's right. I would have been. But you were in year 5 with Ed Ogeron. When you're in year 5 and you can't get plays called and you're burning timeouts and coming out of change of possession and all that stuff, like, that's inexcusable in year 5. LSU wasting the timeout on a change of possession in the first half in the second quarter. After Sage Ryan came up with a 4th down stop in the end zone, LSU burned a timeout before first down. Inexcusable. And yes, that's on the head coach. All that we've heard about organization, all that stuff, you absolutely have to be better. The difference is, look at what Brian Kelly inherited. Like, the expectation, I know some of y'all thought they were going to win that game 38-17. You know who you are, and you probably won't comment today. You're hiding today, and that's okay. I said it was going to be a game in the 20s. It was a game in the 20s. I thought LSU would win. They didn't, but it was a close game in the 20s. A lot of y'all had LSU 10-2. I didn't. Now you see why. You had to make over an entire roster, an entire coaching staff, an entire support staff. Y'all, Nick Saban's first year at LSU, they lost to UAB. Don't even worry about that. Nick Saban's first year at Alabama, they lost to ULM. Ed Ogeron's first year, they lost to Troy, got blown up by Mississippi State. He ended up winning a championship. Les Miles' first year, they blew a 21-point lead at home to Tennessee. Y'all, that's transition. That's growing pains. It happens. Like, the coaches are learning their players. The players are learning their coaches, new scheme, system, all that stuff. And some of that happens, man. And it sucks. Like, you'd always rather learn those lessons with a win than a loss. It just didn't happen. Mark, what's your take on Daniels? I thought Jayden Daniels did some really good stuff, and I thought there were times when it didn't look good. He's obviously much more comfortable throwing the ball when they went tempo because it kept Florida State's pass rush at bay. And, I mean, it sucks that it took them 3 quarters to figure that, or 2.5 quarters to figure that out, but they figured it out. And I think that's something you gotta do, that you'll have to do not only to get Jayden Daniels in rhythm, but y'all, do you realize every play Jayden Daniels was under duress? There was one play, one play, where I felt on a straight drop, he had a totally clean pocket. And it was the play where they got a PI when they threw it up to Kayshawn. And they went max protect. Kayshawn was wide on the left. And they sent Kayshawn downfield. He had a clean pocket, step, delivered a confident ball, and the receiver had to grab Kayshawn, or the DB grabbed Kayshawn, and they got a 15-yard penalty out of it. So, like, it's really hard for me to point at Jayden Daniels and go, man, you stink, when his feet were the only thing that kept you in the game for 2.5 quarters. Like, his running ability was it. And bro, and he showed a ton of toughness. Like, even on that last drive, the run he had when he eluded the rush, it looked like they had him. He scampered up the middle, got hit, bounced off a dude, got like another 10 yards out of it. Like, dude averaged 7 yards a carry. I mean, and by the way, that, like, we still count sack yardage, which is so stupid. So I'm looking at his net total, 16 for 114. That's not even counting the sack yardage. So, like, he actually ran for more than that. So, man, it's hard for me to point the finger at that guy. Let me see. I know they haven't ingested that yet. I know some of y'all wanted to see Nussmeier, and we're going to see Nussmeier this week against Southern. And I'm excited to see it too, to see if it looks different. And it may. But they made the decision to go with Daniels. It was a close ball game where they kept plucking away, and ultimately they broke free. And, we'll see, man. YouTube, do me a favor, smash that like button if you haven't done so yet. Caleb, let's see. Denbrock, though long developing plays would help, a thought would help the pitiful O-line. Caleb, I don't think they had long developing plays. It wasn't like it was a 7-step drop. It was just that as soon as Daniels dropped back, he was under duress. There was just no time. Landon Miller, what's going on? DJ Nola HD. Booty doesn't matter at this point. If you can't throw the ball, none of it matters. But they could. Like, here's the other point I'll bring up. Like, on the possession where they had the blocked field goal, the 3rd and 11 play, the last play before the field goal attempt, was the slant to Kayshawn. And Jayden Daniels literally hit him on the 7. But that's on Kayshawn. Go watch. I tweeted the clip of the play. Go look at it. Kayshawn runs the slant, and he doesn't get his head around to look at the ball. He looks at the safety and then gets his head around. By the time his head gets around, it hits him in the 7. Like, it hits the 7 and carries him off. Like, that's your literally your best player who has a chance to make a game-changing play, and the ball hits him in the 7. Like, that's not on Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels made the right read, made an accurate throw. Kayshawn Booty's got to turn his head around and catch the damn ball and score a touchdown. Like, if Kayshawn Booty scores a touchdown there, you win the game. I mean, all else equal. Anyway. I mean, at that part of the game, if Kayshawn catches that ball, you're up 10-7 going into the half. He does matter. He's your best player. Like, you got to get him engaged and involved. And that's a huge criticism I would have of Denbrock. Like, how did you not run a bubble screen? Like, run a shallow cross, run a jet sweep, run anything to get the ball in Seven's hands. Anything. Scott Loom, the haters will forget you talked about kicking all week. All week? Scott, I've talked about it for 8 months. Not just kicking. How about punting? We talked about all special teams. Jay Bramblett, his first one, boomed it. 55-yarder. Gorgeous punt. Flipped the field. After LSU had 3 and out and was sacked on 3rd and 9 on their second possession. Bramblett's first punt, 55 yards, boomed it. His next one, 31 yards. Like, I mean, you get some consistency. D's Barbecue, only one game, I know, but I don't think some of these issues get fixed. See, this is where I'll disagree. Hold on. Like, the blocked field goal in PAT, the blocked field goal was completely and wholly inexcusable. You let a man come right through the middle. Like, that was on Cam Wire as well. Completely, wholly inexcusable and very fixable. Like, the only way a kick should ever be blocked up the middle is if you have just an extremely long defender who gets his hands up and jumps, and the kicker just kicks it too low. That's the only way it should ever be blocked on the interior. And the way that it can be blocked coming from the edge is basically one of two things. If you the end either just doesn't chip, which I'll need to go back and look at the PAT, or if the place kicker is too slow. Like, there's a clock that you'll tell that every special teams coach will know, or like there's a clock where the kicker doesn't start his motion when the ball is placed on the ground. The kicker starts his motion on the snap because it's got to be boom. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, that's an explanation where we'll get to talk to Brian Kelly tomorrow, where I'll want to hear what that explanation was. Tad Page, what's up? Brandon, I'm going to start praying every day for a new co-host on Whiskey and Wine. I can't take T-Bob anymore. Tommy Howard, and look, hey, look, Brandon, there's people that can't take me. So it's okay, man. Like, it's just different. It's just different tastes for different people. So, you know, he and I have a really good yin and yang, okay? So, just turn the volume down when he talks. Tommy Howard, Bootie's draft eligible. Next place he's going is the NFL. Michael Irvin, the playmaker. Wendell Norman, Lamar Stevens, what's up? So we're 2018 LSU without Joe Burrow and Cole Tracy. That's a really good comp. You know, maybe it actually may feel more like 2017. Remember 2018, Lloyd Cushenberry came through big at center. You had some dudes on that 2018 team. Jeb Whitley, Matt, I obviously know nothing about the reality of coaching at this level behind the scenes. Is Brad Davis a bad O-line coach, or is it people learning new positions? No, I think Brad Davis is a good O-line coach. I think it's a fair question to ask, by the way, because you had a veteran group last year that did not play well, and now you have a young group this year that did not play well. I think he's got enough skins on the wall that we can say he's a good offensive line coach. I mean, Jeb, the challenge is the thing that we've talked about for so many months now. Like, it feels repetitive for me sitting here saying it, y'all, but like, how many times did you hear me say, I believe all five are good players that are going to have a chance to play on Sundays, but you got a true freshman left tackle. You got a center who's never played the position. You got a left guard that was a tackle at FIU last year. You got a right guard that was a tackle last year, and a right tackle that's played tackle, is probably your most veteran guy, but was a turnstile at times last year. Like, so you got five dudes in new positions that have never played together. And now you're going against that Florida State front, which is the unquestioned strength of their team. Like, with the benefit of hindsight now, you can look at it and say, yeah, we probably should have seen that. But, yo, I said that mess for months. I mean, for months. Like, so no, it wasn't surprising that they struggled. Jordan Thomas, I have to admit, I thought you were a little harsh with your preseason predictions. I get it now. Listen, man, here's the thing, Jordan, and this would go for anybody. I'll say this again. Like, I love LSU, like, with all of my heart. I went to school there. I grew up cheering for LSU. Some of my earliest, most fondest memories are cheering for LSU, going to games with my family, like so many of you. I love the school. I'm so proud to be an alum. I want LSU to win at everything, all the time, forever in perpetuity. Like, not just on the field, but also in the classroom and everything. I always want good things for my alma mater. My job doesn't afford me the luxury of being a fan. I have to tell you things objectively. It's how you gain credibility. If all I ever do is tell you I think they're going to win, you're never going to believe me. But I'm going to have no credibility with you whenever I say things, because I'm only giving you one very slanted side, telling you what you want to hear. The reason I've done what I've done, as long as I've done, as successfully as I've done, is because I don't lie to you. I don't fabricate opinions. If I think they're going to go 8-4, if I tell you that, it's because I think it. If I think the offensive line is going to be a problem, it's because I think it. If I tell you the defensive line is a bunch of monsters and are going to be really good, I think it. And they were good. The defensive line, even without Mason Smith. Y'all realize Mekhi Wingo was the leading tackler among your defensive line last night? The only player with more tackles was Jay Ward, Major Burns, each had 8. Greg Penn had 7. And Mekhi Wingo had 6. Who's your third leading tackler in the game? Or fourth? He had 6, Duquesne Roy had 3. I mean, they have depth, really good depth. YouTube, give me 511 watching, which is awesome. Thank you so much. Only 95 likes. If you would take a quick second, smash that like button. I do appreciate it. And subscribe up to the channel if you're new here on the Matt Scone YouTube channel. Just hit that red subscribe button. I do appreciate it. Facebook, thank you as well. Please like the page, share the post. Like the page, share the post. We appreciate y'all as always for being here. I'm doing my best to get to as many of your comments as I can. So it's just, I think you can all understand, like with this format and as you know, as it's going today with all the comments going so fast, I'm just not going to get to every one of them. So I apologize. I'm gonna stay here till 10. So you know, I'm not going anywhere. But if you have questions or comments, you know, just keep them coming, and I'll do my best to get to as many of them as I possibly can. So, and I'm going to go ahead and pin the HUDCO link for the website in the chat there, both Facebook and YouTube. So, you know, as always, if you need a roof inspection, we'd love to give you help. A hand, HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. Daryl Fino, how about Taylor? Yeah, Mason Taylor. I mean, look, Brian Kelly said they were going to throw him the ball, and they did. Mason Taylor had 5 catches for 42 yards, including the big one there at the end where he didn't quite get out of bounds, but put LSU in a position to to make that play. So okay. Brad Johnson, good morning. Gerald Lemons, good morning. Tigers play good enough to win, bad enough to lose. Travis Broussard, if I see one more person complain about Daniels being a one-read quarterback, I'm going to throw my phone. He was running for his life for most of the half. That's true. You know, I do think there were times where I would have liked to have seen him hang in the pocket a little longer, but I think it's hard to put yourself in that situation when you were under duress the entire game to then, you know, turn that switch off. You know, if, you know, we got asked a lot about Brennan and, you know, could Brennan not have beaten out Daniels? And if Miles Brennan had played last night, he probably would have been sacked a dozen times. And it's not a knock on Miles, it's just his skill set. Behind that offensive line, it's why I said for months and months that Jayden Daniels was going to start. This coaching staff wants a mobile quarterback and probably needs a mobile quarterback because of the offensive line. So that's why you are where you are. Matthew Rudiger, do you know why LSU was given an untimed down on the final play rather than the ref starting the clock when it was marked ready? So Matthew, yes, it's because Florida State took a timeout. So they reviewed the play, and it was going to be, you know, it was not an untimed down. It was 1 second on the clock, but BB12, it was not because of a first down, because the clock on a first down, because he did not get out of bounds, the clock should have started right when at the ready for play whistle. So Brian Kelly, you could see, was telling him whistle, like snap it on the whistle, like the whistle is your cue to snap the ball. But then Florida State took a timeout. So Florida State taking a timeout nullified the running clock. So then the game clock started on the snap. That's why. Darren Mayer, Merrick Mathern, Goose Sports, good morning. Kenneth Martin. Matt, I have to say all 3 of our coordinators were out-coached and not very good, especially offensive coordinator and special teams. I think that's all fair. I mean, LSU was out-coached and outplayed. That's a fair criticism. I thought the defense played their behinds off, considering Florida State ran. I'm sorry, hang on 1 second. Florida State ran 71 plays to LSU's 66, but LSU ran So LSU ran 66 plays, but their final 3 drives of the game were 11, 15, and 11 plays. So 10, 20, 35. So more than half of LSU's plays came on the final 3 possessions. the defense was on the field the whole game. I thought to hold up the way they did, the third down conversions were obviously disappointing, but to hold up the way they did was encouraging. Marshall Wynn, LSU could not stop the pass up the middle, automatic first down. Florida State did a really good job of finding soft spots in the zone, no doubt. But what LSU did really well is stop the running game. As much as we talked about Florida State's running backs running for 400 yards a week ago, all three of their backs going over 100, Treshawn Ward went for 49 yards on 16 carries, averaged 3.1. Jordan, let's look at the running back. Trey Benson, 6 for 15, and Lawrence Toafili, 4 for 9. All three of those dudes went over 100 yards a week ago. They didn't combine for, well, let's see. Yeah, the three combined for 89 yards this week. Like, your interior run defense was outstanding, and that was without Mason Smith. Brian Penn, good morning, Eddie Hayes, what's going on? Michael Gonzalez, we didn't necessarily have to win. I did expect us to look decent. They played bad in every aspect of the game. Yes, there were moments where they were, and for chunks where they were bad in every aspect of the game. But Michael, whenever you are rebuilding, you can't ignore negatives for sure. Like, you have to acknowledge them to fix them, but you also have to acknowledge the things you did well. Like I just mentioned, your interior run defense was exceptional. Your outside cornerbacks were exceptional. Florida State's receivers made one play downfield, and it was the flea flicker touchdown, and Mekhi Gardner almost rebounded to make the play. Offensively, once you went tempo and got your receivers involved, Florida State secondary couldn't hang. With the benefit of hindsight now, clearly the change that they should have gone to earlier was tempo. Tempo to get Jayden Daniels comfortable, to keep Florida State on their heels. But you move on. Brian, what's up, Brian Terrio? Best was a different maker last year, was barely on the field. Actually, not true. In every three receiver set, your three receivers were Kayshon Boutte, Jere Jenkins, and Jack Besh. Those were your three receivers in basically every three receiver set, except for when they brought Malik Neighbors into the slot. So Besh played a ton. They just didn't throw him the ball a ton. Mark Spell, what's going on? Jason Austin, the defense had 1 3-and-out all night, and that was at the end of the game. You will not win many games like that. Louis Malhoit, what's going on? Dave Dorr, we knew going into the season O-line was suspect. Brian Wynn, how much does John Henry's absence impact the overall effectiveness of the offense and open up the passing game? Yeah, Brian, that's a good question. But I think T-Bob made this point, and he's right, that I don't care how good your running back is, if there's no offensive line to block. The best example ever is 2015 Leonard Fournette, who just wrecked all of college football and then went up against Alabama and had, 16 carries for 30 yards. So the answer to your question is it wouldn't have mattered at all. Noah Kane had 7 carries for 23 yards. Goodwin 5 for 14. Josh Williams 1 carry for 2 yards. Just couldn't run the football. Spurge, morning Matt. As this isn't whiskey and wine, I won't say anything. Yeah, if you're just finding Morning Scone for the first time, thank you for being here. But Morning Scone is PG. We are PG here. So if you're there on YouTube, 593 on YouTube. This may be a record for the show. Maybe it's not. Maybe I just don't remember what it's been like in the past on Morning Scone. But 311 on Facebook, 597 on YouTube. We're almost at 1,000 concurrent viewers, which is incredible. So thank y'all very much. I know it sucks, but thank y'all very much. If you're on YouTube, just take a quick second, smash the like button. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, to the Mama Scone channel. And Facebook, as always, thank you. Like the page, share the post. Shane Duncan got to get off the field, third down defensively. Yeah. Michael Wickoff, okay, asked for an injury update on Mason Smith. After the game, I was just told it was a knee injury. I know they did mention that on the on the broadcast, but Mason Smith came back out and he was on crutches and he was crying. So, I mean, you saw it. It looked terrible, and it's so unfortunate, too. He blew up that play and allowed, I believe it was Jay Ward, to make the play on the boundary for a TFL. And the celebration wasn't even some big, grand, dramatic thing. I mean, he was running, he just kind of like skip hopped, and when he landed, his knee just buckled. Man, that was really tough to see, man. Aaron Hebert, Daryl Fontenot, Chris Anthony, morning Matt. Wonder why he had better connection with Jenkins than he did with Booty. Look, I mean, because I think every time they were rolling coverage, I mean, I thought the TV broadcast did a good job of showing that too. They were bracketing Booty. So you had more one-on-ones with Jure, and Jure's a really good receiver. Lance Lane, let Booty return kicks and punts if he's the playmaker. You got to give him the ball. Let's see, Michael Moore, Stephen Bickham, who's the new punt returner? Yeah, so look, I mean, I feel as bad for Malik Neighbors as anyone. I mean, he looked devastated after the second muff, but you can't put him back there. He lost the job. You cannot put him back there. The other guys that returned punts in camp were Sage Ryan, Seven Banks, who I don't even think played yesterday. He's still not 100%. And Javen Nicholas, who's a freshman walk-on from St. Aug, who they like a lot. But so my guess would be Sage Ryan would be the guy. And I think you got to give him that opportunity next week in Tiger Stadium. Like, you've got to give Sage Ryan a chance. You got to give somebody else a chance. Anthony Jacob, funny how not winning in football creates delusion. That was a battle of two bads. Both teams finished middle of the pack in their conference at best. I mean, maybe, but what's the point? I mean, if you're honest with yourself, you went into the game in the season understanding what this season was going to be. I mean, I didn't expect LSU to win the West or go to Atlanta or win double-digit games. I said they'd go 8-4, but I thought they'd win that game, and they had opportunities to win that game, and didn't. So, right, probably 7-5. Someone asked last night, after watching the game, how do you feel? I feel the same. Like, there's enough talent on that team to beat Mississippi State in Baton Rouge. There's enough talent on that team to beat Ole Miss in Baton Rouge. You know, there's enough talent. You'll put it together and get better as the season goes along to where you could win a road game at Auburn or at Arkansas. I mean, we'll see. Like, you're allowed to improve as the season goes along. Ryan Dixon, Jayden Daniels is better than Max Johnson. A&M will have a rough year at quarterback. I think we're going to see a lot of Max Johnson at Texas A&M because Haynes King ain't it. Alex was Mashburn even utilized. I didn't see him, but Alex, again, man, Jack Mashburn, like, this was sort of an illustration of how much the roster had gotten sideways in recruiting. Jack Mashburn played quarterback in high school, and you got him taking meaningful snaps at the tight end spot in an SEC game. Why are you asking for Jack Mashburn? I mean, please don't, I'm not trying to discredit the kid. Like, he's worked very hard, obviously, and did some really nice things, but, brother, if you're trying to win at the level that you expect at LSU, you can't be relying on former walk-ons to be your option at tight end. That's the problem. Like, look, Mason Smith got blown up a couple times last night, blocking the edge. He's a freshman pass-catching tight end. So, he'll get better, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Jack Mashburn's the answer, man. Guard games versus killed us. Anderson is going to eat our lunch against Bama if we don't fix that line. Blake Watson, although there was a lot of issues last night, I was surprised how well our DBs played. That was definitely a positive. Boo Daddy Daniels played okay. It's the plays he didn't make that hurt us. Like what? I mean, I'm trying to think if there were specific plays where You said, he's got to make that play or that throw or anything like that. I mean, the opening drive of the game, you go right down the field, and you've got a 1st and goal at the 7. Armani Goodwin rushes for 2 yards up the middle. You got 2nd and goal from the 5, and Garrett Dellinger snaps it over his head, and you lose 14 yards. I mean, you're going in for 7 there, and you get 3 because of a bad snap. That's not your quarterback. On the possession where you had a blocked field goal, Daniels was basically that whole drive. He got sacked on 1st down, completed a pass to Brian Thomas for 16 yards right in midfield. Daniels scrambled for 8 yards, completed a pass to Malik Neighbors, who got the first. Got a holding penalty on 2nd and 18. Daniels ran for 11 yards and then had maybe his best run of the night for 7 yards, which got you the 1st down. And then on the next play, which was 1st down, there was the high snap, which Daniels corralled and got an 8-yard run out of. Like, he was the whole drive. He had a false start on Cam Wire on 3rd and 6, which made it 3rd and 11. And then that's when he hit Booty right on the number. Like, literally hit him on the 7 at the goal, on the 7 on his shirt, on the goal line, and Booty didn't get his head around, and then he get a field goal blocked. Like, I'm not saying it was perfect. I'm having a really hard time, though, putting blame on him for the game when he was, for much of the game, your only offense. Darren Mayer said to avoid this, playing a team with a week 0 game under their belt. Should LSU start scheduling these big non-conference games as home and home week 2 or later? Look, man, that was a big conversation all week long about who has the benefit. Is it the team that has the game film on the other team, or the team that played the week 0 game? I think context matters. Who you play in week 0, who you play in week 2 matters. What type of team you have matters. Like, Georgia sure didn't need a week 0 game to look good against Oregon, did they? You know what I mean? Like, give a more veteran team. But you schedule these games so far out, it's hard to plan that. So, no. I don't have a great feel. I don't have a great take on that. Leonard Sarasota, Jay Geiger, good morning. Seems like we need a little run game to keep opponents guessing how to get a run game going in the future. Well, it's great. That's a great question. If I had the answer, I'd be the coach. I mean, I hate to deflect, but I mean, the only thing, like, I loved when they did get their first touchdown, they had a goal to go situation and they gave it to Noah Kane 4 times and just said, we got a big offensive line, let's go get 4 yards. And they did. So Cortland, when your best player has 4 drops, I can't complain about the quarterback. I don't know that I would call the first. So I understand your point. I don't know that I would say the first one was a drop. The first one, which was the one in the corner of the end zone where he got his hands on it, it was a contested ball. We've seen him make spectacular plays. It was a really good defensive play too. But I understand your point, yes. Tommy Howard, LSU sold their souls for 15-0. Now the devil is collecting his debt. Chris Nelson, what's up? Travis Broussard, Irfan Sayad, good morning. Ricky Collins, there was a reason why Cam Wire was not in the original starting line. It wasn't just him, but yes. Austin Kidder, let's see. Larry Garner, good morning. USMC Mike 1, hard to take much positive from that game. But there are positives that you can look at. Jayden Daniels' running ability is a positive. The fact that you didn't quit and put together 2 touchdowns the way you did, and especially coming back after, like when you scored at the end of the 3rd quarter to make it 17-10, and you feel like, all right, now in the fourth quarter belongs to the Tigers, go get it. And then you give up a a touchdown drive to go down 14 again in the fourth quarter. You feel like, all right, well, that was it. And the offense responded with a 15-play touchdown drive to pull within 24-17. And then you get the 3 and out, your first 3 and out of the game. And then Neighbors bumped the punt. So there was things in that game that were good. Again, your interior rush defense was fantastic. Your cornerbacks, your outside cornerbacks, I thought were fantastic in the ball game. The receivers, when they got going and ran tempo, were obviously very good. I mean, it allowed you to get back in it. So, anyway. Hudson Jeter, KB didn't want to be there. It looked like take number 7 off him, please. Quarterback's running for his life every play. Travis reminded me of Bo Nix for Auburn last year, making plays with his feet. But he made plays with his arm as well, man. Yes, with his feet, and he kept a lot. Maybe what you mean is he kept a lot of plays alive. He did. Jordan Travis played fantastic. He was, I think, so much better than many of us anticipated him being. But, their first drive, 3rd and 7, 12-yard completion. 1st and 20, 23-yard completion. On their touchdown drive, 3rd and 9, he threw for 13. 3rd and 3, threw for 6. 3rd and 3, threw for 4. 3rd and 2, he ran for the first down. You know what I mean? And then it was the flea flicker touchdown. So, he made plays with his arm as well, man. Hey, babe. It's probably been almost an hour. Okay. Yeah, it should be about ready to end. I'm gonna do about 10 more minutes, y'all. Appreciate y'all for being here with us. Facebook, again, if you just jumped aboard, thank you. Please like the page, share the post, share the post. YouTube, appreciate y'all so much. We're over 700 concurrent viewers right now on YouTube, which is awesome. Please smash that like button if you haven't done so yet. Tigers lose 24-23. Brian Kelly, first coach since Jerry DiNardo to lose his opener. Jerry DiNardo in 95, they lost at Texas A&M. Hard-fought game, though. I remember that one, remember it well. Let's see. Nick's first game in 2000 was against... It was a state school. It was a directional school. Who did they play? Oh, no, they played Western Carolina. Beat like 58-0. That's right. Beat Western Carolina. Les's first game was Arizona State. Ed's first game as interim was Missouri. Yeah. Even Hal Hunter as interim in 99 beat Arkansas. Michael Blanco, when a quarterback can't get the wide receiver the ball, they get lazy looking who to block because the quarterback won't sit in the pocket. Man, Mike, that is of all the comments I've read so far, that is the worst I've read yet. That is such an awful take. To excuse a receiver for becoming disengaged and blaming it on the quarterback